So let's take a closer look at each of those 6 key elements. Right, the first one, regarding carers and the essential role they play, and that carers have to be identified. Why would this key role be so important? Why would it be needed from my carer's perspective? First, the reason why this is needed is that carers can be assessed for their needs. So it's no good just identifying just the carer and say, well, you're the carer and that's it. They have to be identified on what needs they have. Another reason would be to develop a support structure for that family. So basically, if you support the carer can more likely support who they are caring for, because what we need to state is the worst situation for any health trust or mental health trust is that if carers are pushed out, all we're going to get is those who use the services end up taking up more and more resources, hence beds, from a mental health trust or hospitals. Another thing I want to mention regarding the first key element regarding carers being identified is that it gives carers an idea of the role they need to play or need to do, and gives them an idea on what help can be offered to them. Now, if you move on to the second key element, that staff are carer aware and trained in care engagement strategies. Why would this be important to put in place? Now, from my view, I feel that what we don't want is carers to be missed or isolated. So staff need to be trained on who is the carer and note this down on care plans. Note this down in carer's assessment. Who is the carer? Don't just always identify it's just the family. Who is carrying out that main role? Who is engaging with the health services? Who is phoning up the staff saying, look, I need that support. What is happening to my loved one? My loved one has signed something and agreed that I can visit them. When can I visit them? I'm next of kin within the mental health law. So all these things need to be taken into account. Other views would be why this is important for the second key element about engagement strategies is that basically a good level of service is maintained if staff are not care aware and if there's no engagement strategies. What happens when there's an inspections of services by a third party and they keep coming up against a high level of complaints? Another one would be carers would feel supported, which is obvious. If carers feel that they are engaged and that they are talked to or even listened to, if confidentiality is taken up, then this would help the carer feel at least some support. And as I mentioned before, less incidents regarding carers and their families would occur. The third one about policies and practice protocols regarding confidentiality and sharing information being put in place is that opportunities are put in place to lessen red tape regarding confidentiality. This is not just for the carer. This is also for those in the front line who take the calls from carers and the service users and the families, because sometimes they just don't know what to say. And what we don't want is that receptionists or admin staff would say, I'm not telling you anything, and they refuse to listen. And this can cause more complaints to occur. Those within that triangle of care at least know what to expect if there's information sharing protocols in place, so they know what to ask and why to ask it. Also, we need to note that carers know, as I said, what to ask, and at least they won't end up being lost within that maze. At least to know, look, these are the issues that have arisen, what can I do about them, and who do I need to speak to? And of course, one of the most important things why I feel this policy this third key element is needed, is that no one can take advantage of this system. There can be no excuses. I mean, what we must need to take note is that, unfortunately, sometimes things are hidden. And what I mean by that is, let's say, in the worst scenario, a family member or carer would ask how their loved one is doing, and there's been mistakes that's been made, and unfortunately there's been a cover-up. This does happen and has happened, but if policies and protocols are in place where there's no excuse that, oh, we can't tell you anything, and they can't just say that the service user has refused to tell someone when they haven't even been asked in the first place. We must remember that those who are suffering mental health problems in a crisis are very vulnerable people. And I know there's others out there who say, well, how dare you say that those who've lived the experience are vulnerable people. They could say these are mental health survivors. These are people going through difficult times, and they are stronger than this. And to a point, I agree. But unfortunately, there are times when we have to put it on the line here that when someone's suffering a mental health crisis, at their worst scenario, they are very vulnerable and can be taken advantage of, and their life is on the line. And there can be serious consequences if protocols are not put in place to protect not only the service users, but their families. Going on to the fourth key element, which is defined posts are responsible and put in place to engage with carers. The reason why I feel this is important is that carers know who to approach. Now, I have been on some wards in the past in my caring role and turned up and say, look, can I come to see such and such? And all I would get is, who are you talking to? It's not in my remit, is the reply I would get. Or, look, we're busy now, come back next time. Or, this is not visiting time, which is fair, I accept that, come back next time. The worst scenario is, oh, you've turned up at a worse moment, you can't come in, well, that's fine. Or we could have an example of, I just don't have time for you. You've turned up unannounced. I'm under pressure here. It's not my role. So basically, if we have a carer's lead on the ward, maybe we can always ask them, or they can designate someone who, because what we got to state is that a carer's lead on the ward cannot do everything. It's not in their remit to do everything, but at least they're at least one of the central points on who can be allocated to engage with carers if they are not there all the time. And plus, defined carers leads can feed back to higher management regarding issues and concerns. What I don't want to hear is basically that everything is perfect on the ward or out in the community. We know the NHS is under pressure as it is. And what I mean by the NHS is the National Health Service over in the UK. So it's not like I'm going to make a fuss about such things. I just want to know what the issues are. Are the carers leads getting any support? Are defined posts not in place, and why? And how can those providing the services be supported as well? And it's not only just engaging with carers, it's also engaging with carer support groups, carers forums, those out in the community, so that way they can feedback or try and work out what's the best way to resolve a situation regarding carers. The fifth one, which is a care introduction service and staff being available to provide relevant information across the carer's journey, across the service user journey, is again carers and their loved ones do not get lost within that maze. There's a pathway that they can be supported on, and that they know what to follow, and that they know what's coming at them. And a good example of this is that you turn up to a meeting or to a ward round, and then a member of staff would turn around and say, this is critical, you need to do this, without the service user or carer at least having a briefing or an idea of, if I take this option, what is going to happen. And there are serious examples, I would say, that someone could be, a decision is placed on a carer where that person, their loved one, might end up losing their life. And an example of this would be medication. Someone says to you, here's the medication. They give that, the carer agrees that someone be put on that medication without proper consultation. The medication has serious side effects, and an example would be relevant information on side effects wasn't given, or if it was given, not all information was given, or where's the care plan? Things like that. And again, information can help carers decide what they need to do, and in this way there'll be less incidents occurring on the ward or out in the community. And the last one, I don't want to make this video overly long, which sometimes I can do, is a range of carer support services is made available to carers, and this is one of the last key elements, and that would state the reason why I feel this is important is that no health system can do it all, so who can carers be referred to? Again, what we also want is that carers know who to turn to. They're not just turned away. And thus also why I feel this is important is the support services can at least take those who are isolated, because basically I do feel we have voluntary groups or other services set up by the NHS or by commissioners, and they're just sitting there waiting, almost, stating, why is no one turning up to use our services? Well, basically what happens is perhaps carers turn up, find to the perhaps to an inpatient ward or perhaps something in the community, and they're turned away, saying, we can't help you, and we're not sure who to refer you to, when there are groups that can actually take those carers in or take patients in who are using the services. Well, anyway, I just want to finish up on that note, and perhaps I can do another part later on the triangle of care and why communication is so important to those who use the services and their families. Thank you for watching.